Hey guys, so one of the more interesting uniques in patch 3.22 is Rakiata's Dance. It's a two-handed sword with a bunch of elemental damage and a mod that makes it treat enemy resistances as inverted. So same as the elemental mastery, only it's 100% of the time instead of just 25. So I decided to pair it with the Slayer Ascendancy for the base crit, since the weapon itself doesn't have any crit chance on it. So that's a pretty common choice for Rakiata builds, but most of the people that I've seen using it on PoE Ninja seem to be using either Smite or Flicker Strike, which aren't really effective for bossing, unless you maybe spend a ton of currency, and even then you might really struggle. So I decided to go Rage Vortex using Calm Spirit, and I actually managed to take down 7 out of 7 Uber bosses on a relatively low budget of just over 10 divines. You might end up paying more like 10 to 15 if you try to get the exact same gear as me, but as you will see later on when I show my gear, it's very basic, just a couple of uniques with no corruptions or anything, just basic essence crafted gear for the rares, and I'm not using any awakened gems or alternate quality, no expensive tattoos. My most expensive item is my Watcher's Eye, which is like 3 to 4 divines because it has 2 good mods. And my Amulet Defiance of Destiny, I paid 2 divines for, but yeah, overall, the budget is really on the low end for this build. And right here you will just see a little montage of some Uber bosses going down. I will post at the end of the video my full Uber Shaper fight, which was my only Deathless Uber fight. Though Uber Eater and probably Exarch should be able to be done Deathless as well. But yeah, and I'll put Uber Maven as well, which is, I guess, considered the hardest one. I had a few portals left even after dying pretty embarrassingly on the first memory phase. But yeah, I'll let this finish and then go into the guide. Okay, so this is the character. I'm currently level 98. This build is really comfortable to level on. It's not the fastest, but it is really safe and tanky. So I had no problems doing like guardian maps and invitations and things like that while I was leveling with experience. No real fear of dying. So yeah, it's a very safe build. And yeah, first I'll just go over the gear here a little bit. We have, of course, the Rakiata's Dance. You want to get one with a decent roll, preferably, but they start as low as like something like 40 or 50 chaos. And yeah, then I have a Blizzard Crown with an enchant here. This makes it a little bit more expensive. I think I paid something like 120C for the base. And then, as you can see, the craft it's really basic. You just want life, suppression, and you want to get some int on your gear, or you can get int or resist here, but it doesn't really matter. All the suffixes on my rares are pretty basic. Here I try to get some chaos res, just to be, well, it really helps versus like Cyrus, and it's really nice for just general mapping. But yeah, this is also, I paid a little bit more for this, maybe 150C. I think, yeah, 150C. Same with these boots. This enchant is pretty good for bossing, and for the Ickers, Warcry speed is really nice from Eater of Worlds, and then the other one is just a random. I guess it gives me something because I generally have my endurance charges up. And then I have, of course, Calm Spirit, which is what allows me to use Rage Vortex because it gives me a bunch of rage generation. I sometimes press Berserk, mostly just to tank stuff, but it's kind of hard to keep up your Berserk because you'll run out of rage pretty quickly if you're throwing out rage storms from your Rage Vortex while you have Berserk up. So yeah, but and then we're using Immortal Flesh to get high life reg in order to sustain Calm Spirit. And yeah, this one I paid maybe I think 30C for. But then you ideally want to put some quality modifiers on it, fertile catalysts, which can be pretty expensive. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit extra if you want to invest into it. Same with Defiance of Destiny. I paid 2 divines for this one. It's a pretty good roll, 32 out of 35. And yeah, just get the resists that you need. I mean, with resists and attributes, it's pretty easy to just fix that with tattoos. Yeah, so you don't really have to worry too much about the suffixes on your rares. Just get suppress to where you're capped together with your anoint, which is inveterate, and then just get resist cap. It's pretty simple. As you can see, this one, yeah, it's just life resists, suppress, and then Agravicious Craft. But yeah, Fertile Catalysts on Defiance of Destiny is good as well. And then lastly, I'm using the Taming. Just try to get one with a decent roll so you cap your resists. I didn't even finish putting Elemental Catalysts on this one. So yeah, the gearing, really basic. These are the 3 most important uniques. And then Defiance of Destiny, this really helps versus bossing. And well, in mapping as well, it just, even though we have Overleech as a Slayer, since we're not using Volpact because that doesn't work with Calm Spirit, this provides some really nice life gain. And it's gain 38% of missing unreserved life before being hit. So it's before you get hit by anything, you get healed based on your missing life. It's really nice. And I was just using a basic amulet with life and resists before, so I figured, well, why not use this one? It's like free. It just has all the basic stats that you need, and then this pretty powerful effect. You want to get Determination, ideally, on your, what is that, on the Eater of Worlds implicit. I got pretty lucky. I just pressed a grand one and got it, and same with the Lightning Res. I don't think Lightning Res is the ideal one. I got it, and then I figured, yeah, it's good enough. It's nice for some of the Uber bosses like Uber Elder and Cyrus and Maven. Yeah, it's Lightning Res is the best one in my opinion for Uber bossing. So, but you could get like Non-Curse Aura Effect, and yeah, there's some other good ones. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the gear. Pretty simple gearing. For the jewels, I'm using a Lethal Pride. I paid 100C for this. You want to get Intimidate somewhere, and then you kind of want double damage. Doesn't really do anything because we have double damage all the time with Intimidating Cry, but melee crit is good. Yeah, you can get life. I think most important is getting Intimidate, and then a couple of other good ones like melee crit or life. Yeah. And then I'm using a pretty nice Watcher's Eye with 2 good mods. I would say prioritize the Anger, because the Determination, well, it depends if you want to be tanky or deal more damage. I think the build is more so lacking damage, so I would go for the Anger mod as a priority. But if you can get both, that's really nice. Or maybe Anger and you can get flat armor with Determination. I think that would be a little bit cheaper. I think this one is like 3 to 4 divines. Might be more. I think I paid 3 or 4 for it. But yeah, all in all, the gear ends up being pretty cheap. As I said, 10 to 15 possibly. I'll go over the flasks a little bit as well. Just using an instant life flask with corrupted blood immunity. A diamond flask. Suffixes here doesn't really matter. Yeah, attack speed is a good one. Increased armor on a granite flask, that's pretty good as well. I have increased crit here, doesn't really matter. And reduced curse effect. This I'm usually, for this last slot, I'm always switching it out. For mapping, I'm using a quartz flask because phasing is really nice, and sometimes I'm using this for chaos res if it's if I'm doing something that needs chaos res, like Cyrus, or maybe a poison map or whatever it might be. And then I'm using Taste of Hate, which this one is like maybe 70C or something for a decent roll. But I'm only using it for Uber Shaper and Uber Elder. You could just use a regular Sapphire Flask, though I'm not even convinced that Taste of Hate is better. You could get just a regular one with and get more duration on it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm using this one. And then Ruby Flask for the Incandescent, for the Fire Boss. Forgetting the name right now. And Topaz Flask for Eater. Yeah, so you switch this one out as you go, pretty much, for whatever the situation calls for. Same with like Pantheons, like if you're doing something that's gonna ignite you, like Cortex, one of the bosses has an ignite, and we're not ailment immune on this build, so something like this might be good there. Well, actually, we do have ailment immunity versus spells, so that is something. But yeah, and then I'm most of the time using Solaris. This one is sometimes needed to not get frozen, but we do have a tattoo that prevents us from being frozen sometimes. I'll get into that when I go over the tree. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the gear and the flasks and Pantheon. So here's the tree. Of course, I'm a Slayer, so I have Overleech here, Bane of Legends, and Cull here, 20% Cull, and then of course they Overwhelm for the base crit, since Rakiatas doesn't have any crit. This is really nice. Yeah, the tree looks something like this. I'm gonna post some like leveling trees in the POB, just so you can follow it easier. I would say you level this with Spectral Helix up until maps, and then once you can equip well, Rakiatas, Calms, and Immortal Flesh, then you can start thinking about using Rage Vortex. But yeah, Rage Sustain is a problem during leveling, so I used Spectral Helix during leveling. But yeah, I'll include some leveling trees in the POB. This is what the end game tree looks like. I am level 98, so I have some like flex points that you can move around, like this crit damage. I take this one out and get Corrupted Blood immunity for Cyrus, for example. Workers have a minimum of 10 power. This is just basically quality of life. This one is just because I'm kind of cheap with the gear, so you could get more int on your gear, and you can also get more from tattoos. So I'm using a couple tattoos like this one just to fix my attributes, just to get enough to be able to use the max rank of like my support gems for my intellect requirement. And then I have just some random like chaos resist here. Warcry cooldown recovery rate is pretty good as well. But I did take, I mean, this whole cluster is just basically for quality of life. You could just stack a couple of these and you don't really need to think about having an additional exerted attack. But yeah, since I have pretty high level, I decided to go for it, since it has a good mod from the Lethal Pride as well. I am using Iron Reflexes and Unwavering Stance. Because the Defiance of Destiny makes it so we're really good versus small hits anyways, like mapping, you don't really feel the disadvantage of not having evasion. It's just nice to be able to, for bossing, to be able to have these, so you can use Soul of Solaris. And then, like I said, freeze avoidance is actually from this one right here for bosses. Like something like Shaper might be able to freeze you, but as long as you have this one procced, what it does is it prevents your action speed from going like below 100% once you have this triggered. So when you crit against a mark unique enemy, which we do all the time, you summon this little Rakiata spirit that gives you that buff. You tend not to get frozen anyway, but it's a nice touch, I guess. And then I have some finish up some spell suppression here on these tattoos. Yeah, this is one that prevents me most of the ailment. This is suppressed spell damage cannot inflict elemental ailments on you. That basically makes you ailment immune for like bosses, because most of their stuff is spells. But yeah, they have some attacks too, of course. But you tend to get like ignited by Cyrus or shocked by Cyrus beam and things like that, or Shaper balls or whatever, and this prevents that from happening. And yeah, you can take a closer look in the POB if you want to see all the details of the tree. I have, of course, this one as well, Honored Tattoo of the Pa, which just gives us Fortify. And I don't run any Onslaught on this build. You can get that on a tattoo as well. It's a little bit more expensive. I wanted to stay cheap, so I'm using this one instead. But you could use that tattoo and maybe, well, I guess you could get Fortify on like the gem or something. But I'll go over the gem links in a little bit. But yeah, I think that's about it for the tree. This is where we get frenzy charges. Yeah, this one is really important to make sure your ancestor totem's effect lingers. Yeah, that I think that's about it. Okay, so for the main links here, I'm using Rage Vortex. This is a 2120, but it was really cheap. It's like 5C, so I just went ahead and got it, 2120, and increased crit damage, elemental damage with attacks. Of course, you can get this one awakened, but I wanted to make it budget, so that's about 5 divines if you want that, I think. Pulverize, and volatility, and Trinity. Of course, Trinity is just really free. We have 2 elements here, and I'm even running Anger, so it's really easy to trigger Trinity. And yeah, and then I'm using Anger, Determination, and Precision. I am using Enlighten. You can just use a little lower level on Precision, and you will save a divine on using Enlighten. Yeah, I wanted to get it so I could max out my hit chance without any problems. And yeah, that does add 1 divine to the build that I guess I didn't really think about. So maybe it's close to like 13 divines. I don't know. Then we have Enduring Cry, Mark on Hit, Assassin's Mark, and Life Tap. So yeah, this is the Mark on Hit setup, and then I'm just using Enduring Cry here just to smooth out the mana, but the mana is pretty fine anyway, because this right here does give 10 mana per second, so mana is not really an issue. Yeah, that's Assassin's Mark. That does give us power chargers as well, but it's just a bunch of crit, and it's nice. Then we have the same here, Molten Shell on cast when damage taken. Just to make sure that it goes off, I have this on life tab as well. Then I have Blood Rage here. I only use Blood Rage for mapping to get frenzy charges on unique enemies. We have it through our Sword Mastery. Then I have Frost Blink. Actually, most of the time I'm using. I think I deleted it. Sorry. I've been mostly using actually Flame Dash. I've just recently tried a little bit of Frost Blink. Flame Dash I'm using in all the clips and everything. Since I don't have any other movement skill, I tend to like having more charges. But Frost Blink is nice because it is instant. So you might you can choose whichever one you feel is better. But yeah, I'm not using any other travel skills, so Flame Dash can be nice just to have a couple more charges to move around with. Yeah, and then I have Berserk here, just pressing this basically on like intermission phases, like ball phases and things like that, just to take less damage. And then you can use it to like burst as well. But yeah, I mostly use it for that. And then I have Totem set up here, Ancestral Warchief, Ancestral Protector, Intimidating Crime, and multiple totems here, of course. Yeah, this one is unrelated. You can put this one anywhere. But you want these together. Same this one, you can put it anywhere. Just get these 3 together. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the gems as well. Like I said, for leveling, use Spectral Throw into Spectral Helix. And then when you have enough life regen to be able to sustain your Calm Spirit, you can start using Rage Vortex. I wouldn't recommend this build for like SSF or anything, because yeah, you do need a couple of specific uniques. This here, Defiance of Destiny, it is really good, so I kind of expect this to go up in price, because I think it's kind of a hidden gem. So buy this one as soon as you can, I think, because it's really nice. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say on this build. If you have any questions, just ask me, and I'll put some Uber bosses at the end here.
tenfold. Space aligns. Behold my collection.
I will have what I want. It will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. The prettiest piece makes the whole complete. Cascade of pain. Stand still.
Made real.
Stand still.
Death made real.
Take this. Stand still. Death will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry.
Death made real.
Stand still. Take this. Mine. Why?
Resistance will be punished. Time controls. Scurry, scurry.
My irritation is growing. Stand still. It will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. Stand still. Who would I say? A cascade of pain.
Death made real.
Stand still. A cascade of pain. Stand still.
Death made real.
Oh!
Stop resisting. Reality bends. Punishment inescapable.
will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. Stand still. A cascade of pain. Do what I say. Take this. Stand still. A cascade of pain. This will not be an escape. Scurry, scurry. Stand still.
I can't do this just yet.
Take this. Stand still. You are
The living toy must enjoy our contests.